This week, I've travelled to the south of England to ride the Queen Elizabeth Country Park in Hampshire. For those who don't know, QECP is a small but punchy trail centre with two main trails and a number of off-piste lines. For such a small place, it's great to see what they've created. I was here during the summer last year when, disappointingly, a large part of the Red Trail was closed. So today, I've come fully equipped with my Cube stereo to finally explore the woods and see what this Red Trail has to offer. I arrived at the trails early on this cold morning and wasted no time getting kitted up and getting the bike ready. QECP really is a trail centre of two halves. Plenty of uphill, but also plenty of crafted descending. And that's the bit that I'm interested in. So, with no time to waste, let's get cracking.
There's nothing like a good climb to warm you up straight out of the car park.
Because QECP is based around a big hill, your first 10 minutes on the Red Trail is pretty much climbing. Like most of you, I'm not a huge fan of climbing, probably because the last year of COVID has demolished my fitness. But in the dry, these natural climbs are actually quite fun to navigate. There are plenty of weird and wonderful rooty clumps or funky loose rock sections that help spice up the climbs. But these climbs are definitely worth it for what comes later.
What I do remember about QECP is that the first 3 quarters of the trail is just climbing and the last quarter is descending. So this is a great loop if you're an XC rider or you're looking to get fit. However, I do remember there are loads and loads of off-piste lines all about the place. I'm yet to explore them, but I can see some of them from here and they look great. So I'm definitely going to have to come back and have a little go on some of these.
Most of the ascending on the trail happens in the first half. It's good to get this out of the way so you can enjoy the descents. The trail naturally snakes around the woodland, making it a decent length. However, it does feel a bit disjointed in these early stages. To break up the climbing, you get these short, sharp sections of descent. They're flowing and fast sections, but when you're just getting into it, it stops, and then you start climbing again.
The trail keeps teasing you with these slight downhills. You put your dropper down and get ready, and it's about 10 seconds long.
Although fun, these undulating sections make it a bit stop-start, where you're not quite descending, but you're never quite getting to the top of the hill.
Here we go.
But one thing QECP does really well are these downhill sections, as you'll come to see.
That's more like it, yeah.
On the descents, you pick up speed fast. The trail is natural, so it's really fun to focus on your line choice and navigate the roots and ruts that appear. Throughout this whole trail, it's clear that the builders have focused their efforts on making the dedicated downhill sections as much fun as possible.
That was a nice flowy little section. Now back to climbing.
It's funny that although there may be a fair bit of climbing in the early parts of the trail, you instantly forget about the slog as soon as you're pointing downhill. As I ride along, it was easy to see lots of alternate lines sprinkled through the forest. One thing I have noticed about QECP is the local dedication to riding. For such a small place, there's a large and active riding community. But despite the amount of people I saw arriving at the car park, happily, the trails also didn't seem that busy. And one thing I had noticed that had been improved since last time I was here are the trail directions. Last time I came, many of the signs were faded and I kept losing where the trail went. Today, however, there was plenty of clear signage for bikes and also signage to keep the walkers and runners off the bike trails. That definitely wins a bonus point in my books. Good work.
So for those of you who like ride stats and things, I am Stravaing this loop here. It won't be the fastest loop because I do keep jumping off to film or take photos and things, but it'll give you an idea of the sort of elevation of the trail and the terrain and things. So go and check that out on Strava.
As you work your way through the trails, there's plenty more teasing sections of short downhill, usually followed by a short climb back up. These act as a good warm-up for the descents later on and help add a bit of variation to the trail. The further you get along the trail, the more interesting these short descents become. And before I knew it, I was sketchily hitting small jumps and quickly building speed on some tasty hillside single track.
Oh yeah, that's more like it.
Although I'm riding my full sus bike today, you would be able to absolutely rip around this trail on a hardtail. Because the trail itself is so active and playful, you never seem to stop moving. On a hardtail, you'd be able to get the most out of all the corners and lumps and absolutely shred. After you've made your way up to the top of the hill, the middle section of the trail winds its way over to the other side of the hill ready to descend. To be honest, there isn't much going on in this middle section, but it was good to rest the legs. Once you make it to the other side, the trail finally starts pointing downwards. You start off easy with a few sweeping flat corners as you slowly cruise through the woods under your own momentum. Soon, you start to notice a few small features appear on the trail, like these slow berms. And then, before you know it, the trail is in full flow heading down the hillside.
Oh, this bit's good.
It feels great to finally have a bit of speed behind you for a sustained descent. This section has some small berms on the corners to help you maintain as much speed as you can. There are also a few rollers in places that really give you that speed boost to ride some of the more interesting features. After picking up a bit of speed on this flat corner, the next section had what I thought were a few small tabletop jumps. It felt like a shame to hit the brakes on such a nice flowing section, so I didn't.
Oh, you can send these to flat pretty easily.
And I ended up overshooting the jumps by quite a bit and landing to flat. No harm done, but I was glad I'm on the full suspension. The last part of this particular section is a set of hairpin turns down to the bottom of the fire road. The middle sections are deceptively fast, but some parts of this bit were a little chewed up on the corners. This means I was using my brakes a bit more than I would have wanted to. Because these trails are natural, they run the risk of getting rutted or out of shape when they're ridden in the wet weather. Not that that really matters, because this section is great fun to ride. But Queen Elizabeth Country Park is small enough that you could ride these trails a couple of times in a day, and knowing the trails a bit better on your second run, you could clean up your lines a bit more and ride everything a bit faster.
Well, that was good fun.
Once you're down the zigzag section, you have a short punchy climb ahead of you that leads to a nice long descent. In true QECP style, you pick up speed quickly on the descents. All of the downhills are really varied with interesting natural features along the way.
Trail's really starting to flow now.
The trail doesn't stop weaving from left to right, and you also have to keep your eyes open for huge sections of roots. It probably doesn't look like I'm going very fast on camera, but it felt like I was absolutely flying. Considering I've not ridden this part before and I have no idea where the trail goes, I was glad to be on my full suspension bike. This thing lives for trails like this. This whole section is the main reason I came to ride a QECP today. This is by far the best and most interesting part of the entire trail, and it takes you from the top of the hill all the way down to the car park in a very short amount of time. This type of steep, fast and wild terrain is my kind of riding. And from here to the end of the trail is the crux, because this bit gets all kind of wild. This last section's quite quick and I was running it blind. I'd seen a few people ride this section from the car park, but I didn't really know what to expect from it.
Okay, here we go.
Again, it's one of those features you now know to expect on your second lap around, but I wasn't going to miss out on hitting the bigger jump. Awesome, what a great piece of descending, well worth all of the climbs. What a great end to a trail. Although compact, QECP has some fun features and I recommend you try them out if you're passing by. Thanks for sharing this ride with me and I hope you're out exploring some of the trails of your own. Don't forget to hit the like button and I'll see you next time.